Hello everyone, Striggity here. Evidently there's an NFGEEK challenge which I'd like to participate in. So 10 question questionnaire, one question's a mystery question, and I should have thought about that. But so starting right off the top, what is my type? I type out as an ENTP. I've tossed it around a few times. I'm building more and more arguments for it and getting more comfortable in it. So I'm sure there'll still be some challenges to that and everything else like that, but that's just the best I can do for now. For now with that, it's kind of hard to ferret it all the way out. What am I primarily interested in? That's too broad of a thing to say. I've always, I've got about as broad of interests as anybody I've known. I'm interested in international travel, foreign languages. I'm interested in databases. I absolutely love Excel modeling and that kind of problem solving, modeling game theory. Um, I I don't know. I had fun in calculus classes in college. I took an honors calculus course where we did mathematical proofs from, way back when, where there was 3 professors and 2 students. So we would do like, I don't know, the professors would just give us some nasty proof and we'll be like, well, somebody did it, 1,000 years ago, have at. So it's like, oh, really? How did they do this? You know? So, what else I like? Really, I end up getting stuck in a project. So right now I'm into the YouTube and the MBTI. So I guess I tend to get into something and it consumes me. I might get into a fantasy series and the rest of my life will kind of go on pause, or I'll just kind of skate through because as I'm doing everything else in my life, I'm still thinking about that fantasy series. And then I read it all the way through, and then I get caught on a video game or I get caught on something else, and then it changes. So I'm primarily interested in just about everything except for like pop culture and sports and all that stupid stuff, which I just, yeah, I don't know any college football stuff, which is always so surprising. And I can't do that small talk. I can do a lot of small talk. There's a lot of things I can small talk. I can't small talk sports and some of the other stuff. I just don't know it and I detest it, or it's just that not fun for me. I like to play it. I like to play sports. I was really into that and stuff. But how do I relate to my temperament? Well, so for this, I was going to use the Kersey.com temperament. So rational NT. Right away, as soon as it says pragmatic, that's a big complaint people have had about me. People have seen me as like, it's weird. I don't know. Like, people see me as being like too gullible or too openly emotional, but at the same time, they also see me as being like selfish and greedy and money hungry. And I think part of that is like the pragmatism, and they don't like. So I'm definitely pragmatic. Definitely try to. Wealth and happiness and stuff like that. Not necessarily happiness, but all that stuff is like it's a multivariate equation. It's like, well, I can make more money to have more assets and stuff like that, or I can spend less. Well, I do like to do the spend less. I like to make more money too, but a lot of times it's like, well, do I need that? Am I going to get, I don't know. I can be happy in my own little world, or I can be happy doing a project, or I can be happy working. So like, do I need this thing? So pretty thrifty, and I enjoy the hunt. So I'll go to thrift stores and people think it's a waste of time, but they also don't understand that half the fun isn't even just the money saved. Half the fun is, finding the shit. So, I don't know, finding something that I either will or won't use and hoarding it and everything else like that. What else within the temperament? Problem solving, systems analysis. That pretty much would describe what really gets me involved in something. I love problem solving and systems analysis. If it's logistics within a company, if it's mathematical problem solving at school, IT, troubleshooting and systems analysis. I did a published student journal research paper with statistical analysis and some macros that I wrote in Excel to manipulate the data and bring it in, and then do some panel regressions with some statistical software. So that's something. Problem solving and systems analysis is better than coffee for me, definitely. And then within the rational temperament, seek knowledge, prize technology, dream of understanding how the world. Yeah, definitely. So I mean, seeking knowledge. I mean, the knowledge doesn't have to, like, the end goal of the knowledge doesn't always have to justify what's going on. So knowledge doesn't have to be practical. I'm not exactly pragmatic about knowledge, I guess, and that can be something that other people are confused by. Is like, what's the point in learning that, or why are you it's a waste of time, or don't. Well, if I am intrigued with something, it's just not a waste of time. It doesn't have to be functional knowledge per se. If it got my interest, I'm sorry, I'm just going to dig into it, and that's just going to be the way she goes. Okay, we got more questions here. How did you get interested in the MBTI? So I took the MBTI in college once, but I didn't really know a lot about it at the time. I would have tested, I think I tested ENTJ, but the counselor, I was right on the line with the J and the P, and I'm not sure if it was or not, but the counselor didn't seem to think that was. They didn't seem to think I was the J, and I thought Caesar was really cool, so I wanted to be the J. But so that was my college. That was my college test, as a college sophomore. Since then, I was living with a friend that introduced me to the MBTI in the long form. So they brought it up for various reasons, interpersonally and stuff like that, and that definitely caused, like, once I got interested in the system and stuff like that, I was like, okay, now, like, then I was consumed with the questions, because, like, I could trace that last, like, if you get something down to 98% or whatever, like, I'll still be chasing that 2% tail off into infinity, and people will be like, why? I mean, you've got it down to this percent, and you've got this thing nailed. It's like almost proven, and it's like almost, it's like, well, but what if? Like, I don't know. So I could definitely. So I need to be a little bit more. But that's where I got interested in the MBTI, and it's definitely been an obsession that way. So I'm glad for the video aspect. It definitely helps come to some conclusion that way. I kind of need some of that context. Oh, well, how has the MBTI impacted your life? Well, so I kind of got into that, and further, taking that a little bit further. Previously, I would have said that people treat people differently, and I had, there's everybody complains about the SJs out there, or this, that, or well, it's an SJ society, but a lot of people seem to have the understanding of, this person is like this, and I know why. And I never really had that understanding. I had more like everybody was a mystery, because, like, everybody's preferences seemed markedly different than my own, and their motivations and everything else like that. And I don't necessarily think I always found that in, like, a super narcissistic way of, well, my way is just always better. But I definitely viewed it as, like, I have no idea. Like, like, people would be like, well, I know this person did this because of this, or this person is like, and I'm just basically like, I do not understand people, and I know it. So it's just like, people are a mystery. I just react to how they act. That's just the way it is. I would people watch, I would gossip, I talk about things, and I think about stuff. But in the end, that's where I ended up, was 9 times out of 10, I don't know why people would do what they did. And people were the ultimate mystery. Logical pursuits, intellectual pursuits, I could actually understand that. People, I could speculate for a little while, but in the end, I could just make some different possibilities. I'd be like, well, they may have done this because of reasons X, Y, or Z. But reasons X, Y, or Z would be totally different. Like one would suppose that they thought one way, and the other would suppose that they thought a totally different way. And I could conceive that either could be the case, and a third option that would be maybe in the middle or whatever. So I'd often defer to other people, just be like, these are the possibilities I see with why this person did that, or what they're looking for. What are they looking for? Because I don't get it, or I don't, what's the deal? And people would usually weigh in and be like, oh, it's like this, or oh, it's like that. So I'd just be like, well, I don't know how you know that, but okay. So with the MBTI, I think I can actually relate it to a logical system of patterns and everything else like that, and actually see some things, actually see and go, oh, okay, all those times I was confused about this, and all those disagreements with this person about this, and all these, and this, and this, and it's, my subjective view is like this, or the way that my mind conceives of this action or conceives of this process is like this. The other person is approaching it from this angle for this reason. Now I've got the understanding of why. Why do they process information differently than I do? Why do they come to different decision-making processes than I do? Why is everything just so different? And I think the cognitive model does do that. Definitely, not just the MBTI, not just like the base types and everything else like that. Looking at the 8-function model, I got some additional books that I bought that way. But I mean, once you break it down to the 8 functions, I think there's a lot there that way that you can actually attribute the whys. And that's when I finally learned stuff. Like, I don't get math until I get why. I don't get vocab in language until I get, well, this word actually used to be, like used, this word in Spanish came from the, Muslim world, and, this world in Spanish came from the Greek, and it was like this, and this is why, or, then stuff starts making sense and I can remember it. Or, in Swedish, they use the same, like, kind of word for, they use bibliotek. Well, that comes from the Latin. So it's like, well, why? Well, the Northern European countries didn't have libraries. It was a Roman idea. So those whys drive me. But I'm getting off topic. Shit. Show a book, object, or possession, or whatever you want to the camera. I did think about this, and I just don't know. I don't have anything cool here. I moved into an attic. So I think normally I would like to show like a project or something I've been working on, or I used to brew beer, so I'd be like excited I could show you like, oh, here's a 5-gallon vat of beer I'm brewing. But I don't have anything like that right now. I moved here a couple of months ago, and I'm down to 2 small carloads of stuff. And it's not garage sailing season, so I don't like have all kinds of boxes of garage sailing shit accumulated yet. So I guess what I have is I have my necklace, which I already showed in my clothing video, I think. But yeah, this is like a Figaro, sterling necklace. It doesn't necessarily fit with my personality. People have always been like, it's so weird that you got a necklace like that. Yeah, the hairy chest deal. But I bought it when I was like 16. I was working, I was selling Mardi Gras beads. Fun job. Yeah, I'd have been about 16, and yeah, it was definitely a fun job. You could just like the guy would just be like insult the people, just like cuss at them, say dirty things, whatever, and make them buy the Mardi Gras beads. So, but I was into 50 Cent, so many other things and whatever. So I liked that aspect. Definitely not a badass myself, but I definitely always wish I could be. So necklace, here it is. But yeah, that's my item. I feel more naked without this. Like if I'm walking around the locker room, the sauna and stuff like that, or whenever I realize I don't have my necklace, especially if it's like, oh my goodness, could I have lost it? Yeah, I feel more naked without this thing than I do without my clothes. Definitely. This is like my number one clothing item. Doesn't cover much, but this is like more my clothes than my clothes. Greatest misconceptions about my type. Well, so I think I caused some of the misconceptions myself. So I think one of the things I was thinking about that way was the idea that I was talking to EJR&D about morality, ESTPs, ENTPs, and I think when I think it go a little bit too far. I think we can go a little bit too far in asserting that we are immoral. I think we can say, okay, well, not not immoral, but asserting that we don't hold to all these moral. I think what that offends people, or people find that really alarming, and some sort of a scary, because like one person commented on one of the videos, oh, you guys are sociopaths or something. Well, it's not exactly like that, because sociopaths would lack empathy, and I think that ENTPs can definitely get to the point where they squirrel all their empathy away and just bury it down to the ground, and then they can be really really bad people, and we can be bad people besides, but I think that we're both misunderstood and we misrepresent ourselves, because we run around. We're like the Han Solos. I think he maybe is supposed to type that way, or I don't know. And the guy from Serenity, the whatever the hell the guy, Mal from Serenity. But I think we spend a lot of time asserting, well, we don't care about this, and you've got these morals, and I don't care about your morals. I'm just about making money. I'm just about getting the job done. Just about getting the job done. But we do a lot of that because we're trying to stop the ethics and the FE morality of the group from affecting our actions, because that's stupid ethics. And a professor of mine had a neat idea on ethics. He separated ethics from morality. I don't read enough philosophy to know whether or not that's probably been done a trillion times before or what, but I like it. Is, morality is maybe more private, I'm saying. Like, you create these things, it's just like, I as a human being would never do this to this and this and this. Whereas his ethics, what he was saying was more of a societal, just like, well, the group that I'm in doesn't accept this behavior. So it's not for some like super altruistic reason that I won't do this, but it's just because like I won't go against the emotionality of the group. And that's definitely where I fit in. I find it like I don't want to be caged by fanciful, mystical morals. But the FE stuff of the group, the ethics that the group creates, that group dynamic, oh, that can chain me and influence me. So that has influence over the ENTPs. I feel that ethics, so it's not saying we're super ethical creatures. We respond to group ethics and group emotionality. We don't like being caged by it, so we've combated a little bit, but it's there, or it's like we have a love-hate with it. So we express that, well, we don't subscribe to morals. Like, that's what we, so Han Solo is just like, I don't want to be part of all this stuff and everything else like that. But then he ends up flying back, and like, they do that in 2 episodes and two of the things, doesn't he? I think he surprises people like twice at least, maybe even more. But they come back out of the middle of nowhere. Oh yeah, he leaves Hoth, got his money and left. Morals aren't in it for him, and normally they're not. But dang it, he got connected to the group, and he couldn't leave his friends, or he just couldn't leave the empathetical, the ties. He had empathy for these people. It wasn't all about their cause, but he couldn't deal. He was caged with that empathy, so he comes back. That kind of a deal. So it isn't. I think we both are misunderstood, and we misrepresent ourselves. It's not that we're immoral per se, or it's not that. I guess when people hear immoral, they think both unethical and without these mystical moral constraints. And I would like to separate morality and ethics that way. Most of the beneficial things I would be doing, or something like that, would be out of care for the group, or care for the camaraderie, or care for these things, as opposed to some altruistic. The altruistic side is just not there. It's like, well, altruism in some sort of a, not even just altruism, but like moral, some sort of a deep-seated moral compunction isn't there. It's just an empathy and a tie. It's like, well, but you are just somebody I care about, therefore. Yeah, I talked enough about that. Limitation I experience as my own type. I should have thought about this one. I think this one would be like, I'd have to say deadlines and just getting stuck. How do I get stuck? I don't know. I can run through and get a whole bunch of things done, and accomplish goals and be running towards things and stuff like that. But all of a sudden, like, little activities will just get me stuck. I need to shave and shower for some meeting or something. I'm just putting it off. Or I need to, I have to decide what I'm going to wear. Like, and for my normal day, whoop-de-doo, but all of a sudden it matters today. Like I have to like, I'm going to be judged by it or something like that, or it's going to be like a big deal or something. And then it's just like, I don't know. So then, you just browse the internet and like pretend to think that you're thinking about it until the last minute. And then, so I do get hung up by, deadlines kill me. And sometimes little tasks that I just do not want to do just kill me. And it's really silly because, like I got to clean my desk or something, but it almost causes like a catonic state. I'll like pick something up that I'm supposed to, and like if I don't force myself, I'll just daydream off into la la land or get distracted. And if I force myself, but I'm still in the doldrums, I'll just pick something up and almost like, go into some sort of catonic state where I'm not even nothing. I just pick it up and be like, I'm supposed to throw this in the trash, but and just like fall into a zombie mode and fall apart. Just like, how did I only make that many movements and not do anything for 10 minutes? Like, what's the deal? So that would be that and I think that limit dealing with that stuff, and then all of a sudden flipping, and on the flip side of it, finally when it's time to go do the thing, just panicking and needing to get that stuff. And then I think that also goes into the whole hypochondriac stuff where I avoid my posture and don't worry about my posture and all these other things. And then all of a sudden one day I notice like, oh, I hurt because I've been screwing up my posture. Oh, this. And then, so those details, it's just like, it's really stupid. We do it to ourselves. Dream endeavor. I don't know. I mean, there's no Stargate SG-1, so I can't go to other worlds. So that is like, yeah, that would be awesome. But so somehow, somehow like invent a Stargate and then do that. That would be great. Otherwise, I'd like to travel the world. I'd like to have enough money to be able to buy a big sailboat and travel the world. But I might get bored in the way in between. Like, I don't know what I thought about. Like, I could maybe like brew beer and read books on the. There's a long travel in between. But yeah, I don't know. But I think what was interesting is the INTP talked about something with cities and efficiencies and everything else like that. And that's something I'd also thought about in high school a lot. And since then so I'll throw that one in there. Like if I could actually he talked about cities and efficiency. I've looked at it in the fact of, why don't the metro areas, like, there's shift work for factories. Factories run on shift work. Why, wouldn't it be neat if, like, cities ran on shift work? Like, that's stupid traffic. That's bullshit. Why can't we just, like, like, why can't there be 2 or 3 shifts, 7 days a week, of services provided in metro areas, so that you can get your doctor services and all these different goofy services that kind of operate at the same time that everybody else is working. Yeah, that would be really awesome. And I did live in a small, well, I mean they have it here, but I did start encountering the fact that some places do have Sunday banking and Saturday banking. And, for some places only an hour or 2, other places for quite a bit. So those kind of things I'm really a big fan of. I would like to expand that even further if possible. I think that it'd be neat if you could actually create a system where there was, just a constant running system. So there's a constant flow of traffic, constant everything else like that. If you could maximize that to some level, to the extent that maybe you could get people living together in the same, like you could have shared sleeping space, to the extent like, like you'd have a bed or whatever that you'd share, in the fact that when somebody else would get done with their shift or whatever, you leave, like you'd wake up and you'd go, and then like room service or something that clean the room like a hotel. Like if our living arrangements could almost be like hotels, that'd be kind of cool. But then it just doesn't. So it's an ultimate dream endeavor that doesn't necessarily make sense, but it's still neat to think about. So like, I don't know. And the Japanese are probably getting there, because they got they've got like the sleep coffins and shit. So I mean, I don't know. We should be thinking about some of that stuff. But 10th question. Gosh, this is getting long. 10th question is the mystery question, or the for fun question. My question would be, if I had one wish what would it be, and it happens to end up being one of those wishes with consequences, so yay. If I had one wish, I think the wish that I would potentially take is I'd always like the idea of being able to, like, you know, um, within fantasy series and stuff like that, there's always like some mystical Merlin like figure that gets to, live throughout the ages. And I would love to be able to just like live throughout the ages and be able to experience everything. So I could travel everywhere, so I could see every culture, so that I could, watch the US for however long, it would last. And then, 1,000 years later be in this other, this new nation, or, like I could just like watch all these things and see and be like, the ultimate, like the ultimate amount of context, the ultimate amount of, like encompassing view, because you just like always would, and you'd be able to just be like, yeah, I was there. I remember that 3,000. Be like Elrond. Yeah, actually, I mean, if you like being Elrond, yeah, I remember, 3,000 years ago or however many it was. I don't have my years strict in Lord of the Rings. It's been like, I read the Silmarillion in like sixth grade, so it's like forever ago. But like Elrond remembers when Isildur didn't throw the ring in and stuff like that. I'd like that. But at the same time, it's a double-edged sword. So I also realize, and it's indicative of my personality and my loops, because, I think that all I want is all that more and stuff like that. And then what I would end up having is I'd have defensive apathy, because I'd be missing out on the FE connections, and I'd watch everybody grow old and die, and like everybody that meant everything to me would be nothing, and so that apathy would kind of, defensive apathy would kind of take over. So it'd just kind of be, it'd probably be a pretty depressing existence, or it'd be kind of silly. You'd get like immortality, and then, or like you get that ability, and then you'd kind of wanna, you'd want to end it or something after 100 years. So it'd be kind of silly, but that's actually still what I think I would want. So it's just kind of dumb. I don't. I would want that, but it's probably not the healthiest thing to want. So I don't know. That's what I would want. So that's my ENTP video. See what it does for the contest, but it's probably too long. So thanks, everybody. Check out my channel.